A lot of people look at a stock market and feel exactly like this, confused, stressed, and a little intimidated. That's where this book becomes surprisingly helpful. The headlines are loud, dramatic, and always urgent. But Benjamin Graham's message is almost the opposite of that energy. The Intelligent Investor sounds like a book for financial geniuses, but really, it's a book about thinking clearly when money makes people emotional. Once you open it, you realize it's not really trying to impress you, it's trying to protect you. That's the first big idea here. This book is less about getting rich fast and more about not being foolish. Graham makes one thing clear very early. Investing is not the same as guessing, and that difference changes everything. When prices go up, people feel smart very quickly. Suddenly, everyone thinks they've discovered a secret. And when prices fall, that confidence disappears just as fast. The same person now feels fear instead of certainty. This is why Graham focuses so much on having a plan. A calm plan is better than an emotional reaction. The real subject of this book is behavior, not prediction, not hype, and not trying to look clever. One of the hardest lessons in investing is this: your biggest problem may not be the market. It may be you. That sounds harsh at first, but it's actually empowering. If behavior is the problem, behavior can also improve. Fear pushes people to sell when they should be thinking carefully. In bad moments, emotion becomes louder than logic. Greed does the opposite. It makes people chase what is already popular, fast, and expensive. The intelligent investor tries to stay in the middle, not frozen by fear and not blinded by excitement. For Graham, a real investor does careful analysis. He wants to know what he owns and why he owns it. A speculator, on the other hand, is often chasing action. The goal is speed, excitement, or a quick payoff. Now, Graham isn't pretending speculation never happens. He just wants you to know which game you are playing. An investor asks better questions. What is this worth? What are the risks? What happens if I'm wrong? A speculator is more likely to be pulled in by hot tips and fast promises, and that's where costly mistakes begin. This book keeps encouraging you to step back from that pressure. You do not have to react to every exciting idea. Instead, Graham pulls your attention toward the long term. That alone makes you think differently. Long-term thinking creates emotional distance. It helps you stop treating every market move like a personal emergency. Time matters in this book. Good investing is not usually dramatic. It is patient, repeatable, and steady. And that's uncomfortable for people who want constant action, but slow does not mean weak. One of the most comforting ideas in this book is that you do not need to be a genius. You need judgment. That means complexity is not automatically better. A complicated strategy can still be a bad one. Simple rules are powerful when you can actually follow them. In investing, consistency often beats cleverness. This is especially true in a noisy world. Every phone alert tries to pull your attention and your emotions. But the intelligent investor learns not to respond to every buzz. Restraint is part of the skill. Then, we reach one of the most famous ideas in the entire book, Mr. Market. Mr. Market is Graham's way of describing the market as an emotional business partner. Some days, he's wildly optimistic. Other days, he becomes deeply pessimistic. The key point is that his mood keeps changing. Your job is not to obey him. Your job is to decide whether his price makes sense. That changes everything. Prices become offers, not commands. And that may be the single most freeing idea in the book. The market exists to serve you, not instruct you. Think about how silly it would be if your neighbor shouted random house prices at you every morning. You wouldn't panic and sell your home. But people often do something very similar with stocks. Graham wants you to notice how irrational that can be. This is where discipline matters. You need emotional protection just as much as financial knowledge, because noise is constant. If you listen to all of it, your decision-making gets weaker. So Graham keeps bringing you back to value, not just price, but underlying worth. And those two things are not the same. Price moves every day. Value changes much more slowly. Price can be emotional, fashionable, or irrational. It often reflects mood more than reality. Value asks a deeper question. What is this actually worth, beyond today's excitement or fear? That leads us to another major idea, the margin of safety. This may be the most practical lesson in the entire book. The idea is simple. Even when you are careful, you can still be wrong, so leave room for mistakes. That room for error protects you from bad luck, overconfidence, and imperfect judgment. In other words, smart investing is not about acting like you know everything. It is about respecting uncertainty. And this matters because big losses are hard to recover from. If you lose 50%, you need 100% just to get back to where you started. That's why Graham cares so much about avoiding major mistakes. Survival matters more than showing off. So what is this book really teaching? At a basic level, it teaches you to avoid doing foolish things with confidence. It teaches patience over drama, process over impulse, and judgment over excitement. Eventually, every investor faces a choice like this. Will you build a simple process or keep reacting emotionally? Graham's answer is clear. Choose the process that still works when your emotions don't. That path may look slower, but it is much more stable. And stability matters a lot in investing. So if you remember one thing from this book, let it be this. The goal is not to look brilliant. The goal is to think clearly and avoid big mistakes. That's why this book still matters today. Discipline, patience, judgment, and calm are still rare and still valuable. And that's what The Intelligent Investor is really about. Not hype, not prediction, but a wiser way to behave. If you enjoy thoughtful, simple breakdowns like this, subscribe and stay for the next part of the series. And if you'd like to support more deep dive book telling, you can also become a member or join me on Patreon. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.